Welcome to the Better German podcast. My name is Schilk-Blümel, and I will teach you German and everything around the language, the countries, and the culture. Welcome to this episode of the Better German podcast. It is the episode number 10, and it's the second part, or the part 2 of greeting and introducing. So if you haven't listened to the last episode, I highly recommend listening to this one first, particularly if you're a beginner, because in that episode, we basically cover all the words used in this episode, the German words used. And in this episode, I'm going through a couple of phrases, but I'm not going into the meanings of the individual words anymore. So, greeting and introducing obviously is an important thing. If you haven't already, definitely download the PDF with all the words used and the sentences and the translations of the sentences. You will find the link in the show notes. If you can't find the show notes right where you're listening to the podcast, you can find them at bettergerman.info/10. So bettergerman.info is my homepage. bettergerman.info/10 will bring you to the show notes of this podcast episode. And there you will also find the link to the downloadable PDF. Definitely go and get it because it will help you practicing these words and sentences. So here are the sentences. First, I'm always saying the German sentence, and then I'll say the English sentence. And for some of them, I'm going to give you some additional information. Mein Name ist Susi. My name is Susi. Mein Name ist Susanne Schilk-Blümel. My name is Susanne Schilk-Blümel. Ich heiße Susi. That is just another way of saying the same thing. Literally, it means I'm called Susi. It's probably a little less formal than mein Name ist Susi, and therefore more used when you speak. Ich bin 40 Jahre alt. I'm 40 years old. Ich bin aus Wien. I am from Vienna. Ich bin aus Österreich. I am from Austria. Ich lebe in Wien. I live in Vienna. Wie ist dein Name? What is your name? Wie ist Ihr Name? What is your name? Formal. Wie heißt du? What is your name? Or what are you called? So that's the same thing as above. We have these two versions how we can say somebody's name. We can either say mein Name ist, my name is, or I'm called. And these are the two versions, so we have them both in the statement and also in the questions, of course. Wie heißen Sie? What is your name? Formal. Or what are you called? Formal. Schön, dich kennenzulernen. Nice to meet you. Schön, Sie kennenzulernen. Nice to meet you. Formal. Freut mich, dich kennenzulernen. I'm happy to meet you. Freut mich, Sie kennenzulernen. I'm happy to meet you. Formal. Freut mich. I'm happy to meet you. So here, instead of saying the whole sentence, which would be, I'm happy to meet you, we just leave the second part out and we basically would just say, I'm happy. And we mean, I'm happy to meet you. Guten Morgen. Good morning. Guten Tag. It's a greeting for pretty much any time during the day. Guten Abend. Good evening. Gute Nacht. Good night. So instead of all of the last three, basically good morning, good evening, good night, we can just leave the first word out. So we can just, instead of good morning in German, just say morning. I think I think we can do that in English as well. Evening, night. That's quite usual actually. So if you just hear morgen, then it means good morning. Mahlzeit, bon appetit, and greeting used around lunchtime. So this one's kind of funny because, first of all, maybe you're not familiar with the phrase bon appetit because it's actually a French phrase and it is it's a greeting. You sit down to eat and you wish somebody a good meal. It's like have a good meal. I haven't found one word in English that means the same thing, which I think is very interesting. So I've heard many people to actually use bon appetit, which is the same thing in French. It means good appetite in French. So we use Mahlzeit. Mahlzeit literally is a meal. So when we sit down, we have a thing that we say, and that is Mahlzeit. And that means literally meal. But it really means have a good meal or may this food taste you well or something like that. And also, we have expanded this to not just use it when we sit down, but to use it for a general greeting around noon. So if you meet someone at noon, at 12 o'clock, it is very usual to greet or be greeted with Mahlzeit. And in that case, it doesn't have anything to do with eating. It's just the greeting that we use around that time of the day. So it's not an invitation for you to eat. It's just the greeting that we say around that time, like we say good evening in the evening. Grüß Gott. Literally, greet God, greeting for any time of the day. So I think there is a tendency for this greeting to become less used than it used to be, but it is still used very much. And it's also a very general greeting that literally means greet God. For most people, it's not really a religious thing. It's just a phrase that people use now, but obviously it has originally a religious background. Auf Wiedersehen. Goodbye. So this one is a very general term that is used anywhere in Austria and Germany and Switzerland. And it's kind of like the standard German term for saying goodbye. However, I am Austrian, so I do want to add two phrases that are really very, very Austrian. And the first one is Servus, bye bye. So, Servus, or maybe even Servus, is a very Austrian phrase, and it comes from Latin, however, interesting enough. Servus in Latin is a slave. And the idea is saying, I'm your slave, which is a super friendly, originally, term of saying, I'm at your service. And in that way, it's probably more usual in English, at your service. So in Austrian German, it has become very casual and very usual phrase. And I'm sure even many Austrians don't know and certainly don't think of where it actually originally comes from. And they will just say servus, servus. You can say it both for saying hello and saying goodbye, actually. And the next one is Papa. Bye bye. This is a very, very typically Viennese one. Baba. And this is used only for saying goodbye. Servus can be used anywhere in Austria pretty much. Tschüss. Bye bye. Now, tschüss used to be considered a very German informal way of saying bye bye. However, it is used more and more also in Austria. Some people will still think it's more of a German way of saying goodbye. So now I'm gonna say these phrases again, and I want you to repeat them for practice. So I'll say the German sentence first and you repeat it, and then I'll say the English translation and you repeat it. Mein Name ist Susi. My name is Susi. Mein Name ist Susanne Schilk-Blümel. My name is Susanne Schilk-Blümel. Ich heiße Susi. I'm called Susi. Ich bin 40 Jahre alt. I'm 40 years old. Ich bin aus Wien. I am from Vienna. Ich bin aus Österreich. I am from Austria. Ich lebe in Wien. I live in Vienna. Wie ist dein Name? What is your name? Wie ist Ihr Name? What is your name? Formal. Wie heißt du? What is your name? Or what are you called? Wie heißen Sie? What is your name? Formal. Or what are you called? Formal. Schön, dich kennenzulernen. Nice to meet you. Schön, Sie kennenzulernen. Nice to meet you. Formal. Freut mich, dich kennenzulernen. I'm happy to meet you. Freut mich, Sie kennenzulernen. I'm happy to meet you. Formal. Freut mich. I'm happy to meet you. Guten Morgen. Good morning. Guten Tag. It's a greeting for pretty much any time during the day. Guten Abend. Good evening. Gute Nacht. Good night. Mahlzeit. Bon Appetit. And greeting used around lunchtime. Grüß Gott. Literally, greet God. Greeting for any time of the day. Auf Wiedersehen. Goodbye. Servus. Bye bye. Baba. Bye bye. Tschüss. Bye bye. Thank you for listening to this episode. You can find a transcript of this episode at bettergerman.info and then the number of the episode. You can also sign up for a newsletter there, and then you will be informed when there is a new episode coming or any other important events going on, new articles, new freebies, or things like that. If you liked it and it was helpful for you, please share it with other people and let them know that this exists. And if you are looking for a course and you want to learn German online, then you can, of course, find all the infos as well on bettergerman.info. So, see you there and see you in the next episode. Bye bye.